Alright, we are back with another low quality video. This one was inspired by a client and friend of mine, Jesse, who recently wants to start his first venture into home labbing. He happened to have a spare Raspberry Pi 4 he was using for emulation, but he since built a low profile machine for that. He had a spare 8 terabyte external hard drive just sitting around doing nothing, so he wanted to set up his first NAS. Now, I have zero experience with Open Media Vault, which seems to be the preferred solution for running a Pi as a NAS, but I do have plenty of these PI400s. My oldest two daughters had these for everyday drivers, but they've since gotten gaming PCs, and since they're not into tinkering, they were just running Android on it, so their tablets, their phones, and their gaming PCs can do everything they did on this, but faster. So they just basically lost interest in it, so I adopted one for my home lab just for some tinkering. So we're going to set up Open Media Vault on my Pi 400 so I can make all the mistakes the first time on my own before I do it for somebody else. And then just for the hell of it, I'm going to try it out with an SSD and 2.5 gig networking, which I have a feeling that since all of this shares the same USB 3 controller, that I'm probably not going to be able to saturate 2.5 gig, but we'll see. So the first thing you want to do is image your boot device, whether you're going to boot off of USB or micro SD card, and you can do that right through Windows with Raspberry Pi Imager. And just go ahead and download the Raspberry Pi OS Lite 64-bit. And we're going to start with that and see how this goes. I'm going to enable SSH. And IP add, and see if we get an IP address. And we do have an IP address on the 2.5 gig Ethernet. And now we're going to jump on to the Windows workstation and SSH in and finish up the setup. Now that the OS is all installed, we can SSH in from a Windows machine through command prompt and update the OS. Once that is done, we can run the script to install Open Media Vault. You can also run the script for the extras and get Docker and Portainer, but since we're just doing a basic NAS for this video, I'll leave that for when we set up Jesse's Pi. I recommend not running the Pi headless during installation. During OVM setup, you're disconnected from your session, so you have to wait until it completes to reconnect. And once complete, it may have a different IP address. Once the Pi's monitor displays something like this, OVM is installed and you can connect to OVM UI by opening the new IP address in your web browser. The default Open Media Vault username is admin, and the default password is Open Media Vault. So the UI is not exactly the most intuitive. First you go into drives, make sure the drive is present, then you add the partition and file system. Then go into Share Settings, create your share, then enable SMB and Services, and then you have to share your share in SMB. After setting this up, I realized why most other videos I found did not use a secure setup. Having it all public is easy, but all the permission settings are scattered. If you want to have user authentication, you should make sure your settings are somewhat similar to mine, and this will change depending on your user environment. Left file manager is my desktop, center is my server, and right is the PI400. So now we're going to use Crystal Diskmark to compare transfer speeds between the same shares. So performance is about what I expected, considering the SATA drive and the 2.5 gig network card are sharing the same USB 3.0 controller, the same 5 gigabit max theoretical bandwidth, which in real world performance is closer to 3. Then you cut that in half since you are using the network card and the SATA drive at the same time, and you get about 1.5 gigs of real world performance. Now, this will never replace my server, and that's not really what the point of these little devices are. For somebody like Jesse, it's going to be a nice little power efficient first time server. I think Open Media Vault, especially with the extras where you can get Docker and Portainer, is going to be very valuable for somebody like him. But for somebody like me who already has a much larger home lab, it's more for a tinker and just to play around with. So that is it for this one, and I'll see you in the next low quality video.